Hello, it's Monty. I'm back again today. We're going to talk about Red Rising by Pierce Brown, the first book, and I guess the Red Rising series, saga. I don't know what the proper title here is. I'm going to set it to the side. I read Red Rising as part of a read-along, so I'll leave a link down to that below. It is like halfway through the month of May, but it only took me like 2 days to read this book, so there is definitely still time to join the read-along if you want. Again, information will be down below. I talked about it in my May TBR videos. You can look at that for a little bit more information. Same links, all that good stuff. So, Red Rising is a adult novel, which honestly I don't entirely agree with. Not just because the protagonist of this book is 16 at the start, but I just don't think that... I want to say that there's like not a there's a maturity deficit, which is weird because I'm looking over here at my Chad Coltkin book. So I have like The Average American Marriage and The Lie. And these are very immature books. They're very problematic books, but they're definitely adult in scope and nature and writing, whereas Red Rising feels to me like very juvenile. So bringing to a basic synopsis, then I'll tell you the pros and cons. We'll get to spoilers. Synopsis: it takes place on Mars. It's a futuristic society. Everyone is like born into a color. The colors have different functions. Our main character, Darrow, is a red, so he does construction. He's mining. He's not constructing anything. He's mining helium-3 for the planet Mars, because I guess that's there. I don't really know if that's like a thing. I didn't really look into any of the things to make sure that they checked out. I don't know if you can mine helium-3. I don't know. I just know that's what they're saying here, okay? They're saying here. I don't know if that's a thing that you could actually do. I don't even know if it was helium-3. I think I might have put those things together, but they're mining a substance under Mars. They live under Mars. They're the reds are the lowest of the low. The highest of the highs are the golds. They're super strong. Their bone density is different than a normal person. Their eyesight is different than a normal person. I guess you're also born with these sigil things. I don't really understand what they are, but it sounded like you're born with it based on later events. And what happens is he's born in... I don't want to be a spoiler, so let me read here. So... okay, the flap gives away stuff I would say is a spoiler. So we have a dystopian future. A low person. Because it's dystopian, there's obviously going to be some themes of, overthrowing the government, that type of a thing. People online have compared this to the Hunger Games. I would not. And that's where I'm going to leave the synopsis. The pros of this book were the sort of arena-esque aspects of the book. I wouldn't call it the arena, but the sort of simulation war game they had going on, that was the highlight. And to be fair, that does comprise most of this very short book. That's the highlight. The characters are very, very weak. And in my opinion, the world building is also very, very weak. And so if you like sci-fi for world building, if you like fantasy-esque books, this isn't really fantasy, but if you like world building in your novels, this is not the book for you. It's just not. A lot of stuff is thrown at you. You pick a lot of the stuff up really fast. But the world itself never really felt real. It never made me think that, here I am sitting on Earth in 2018, and by like 2555 or whatever, that's not the year of this book, but we would be there in this sort of situation. That connect never got me there. And maybe that's unfair because I wouldn't judge other dystopians by that, like when I read Insurgent or Divergent or The Hunger Games or The Giver. I never once was like, oh yeah, that would never happen. That thought never crossed my mind. But the Monty who read this in 2018, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, you know what? This is a sci-fi. I don't see how we're gonna get, like, I would think this is actually more sci-fi than dystopian. I don't think it is a dystopian novel. I think it masquerades as one. It's compared to other dystopians by, in this little blurb thing here, it is compared to Hunger Games, and it's compared to Ender's Game, which I think is supposed to be dystopian, but probably isn't. It's just another sci-fi one. But again, I don't think that it is dystopian. I think it's just poorly done sci-fi. And so now we're going to get into some spoilers. So if you haven't read this, it's not terrible. I would recommend that you give it a shot if you want. I personally gave it 1 star on Goodreads, but I also used the Goodreads star scale. So like 1 is like I did not like this book. So I didn't like it, but it's not a 1 star in the sense that it's terrible and you shouldn't read it. It's just that this wasn't for me. But I do plan on continuing on with the series, and I have the rest of the books over there. So, spoilers. I didn't like Darrow as a main character. That seems to be a sort of common theme in people who've read this book. I never felt, at any point reading it, that Darrow was justified. I take it back. He was justified in his motivations for wanting to go along with this plan. But I didn't like that Io died, because I didn't think that she needed to die, and she was very clearly set up to die from the moment that we learned anything about her. Also, I think this book is just incredibly juvenile. When you're introduced to Darrow, there's a lot of like crudeness, and again, I've read Chad Coltkin. It does not get any more crude than this man, so I can handle that. Like, I don't need perfect, charming angel characters to like them. But I do need a believable character. And so when we meet Darrow and he's in the mine and they're in their mining suits and he talks about how they would rather urinate on themselves than use a catheter, I was like, why? Like, why did I, 1, need to know that? And then 2, no one would do that. No one would willingly do that. Like, it just wouldn't. And secondly, nobody would be in those sort of conditions for literally 700 years. Minimum of 400 years. Nobody would live like that for 400 years in those kind of conditions with these random pit vipers that made no sense, because I was like, I'm pretty sure there's no life on Mars. So where do these pit vipers... It was weird. Anyway, back to the urinate on yourself. No one would willingly do that for literally hundreds of years. Literally hundreds of years, and just be like, you know, this is a great utopian place. Like, nobody would ever have that thought. So I don't think his wife needed to die for him to like be like, you know what, I will overthrow this. And then when his uncle was revealed to be part of this resistance group that was like scouting people, I was like, what is this? And then like halfway through the novel, when one of the characters, I don't even remember what his name was, one of the other characters on the simulation was revealed to low-key be a red, I was like, how many reds are down there masquerading as golds? Like, what? Is there like a secret cut? Like, it was weird. It was weird. It was weird. I mean, part of me appreciated the fact that it wasn't just Darrow who had undergone this procedure, but then part of me was also like, if you have other people masquerading as golds, then why is Darrow so special and unique, and why are we following him and not one of these other people who might have been more interesting? Because Darrow wasn't interesting at all. Like, you have this character who has undergone a lot of loss. You have his wife who dies just to die to motivate him, but he also loses himself. Everything about Darrow changes. His outward appearance, his bone density, his eyes, his DNA is like manipulated. This man has like 2 brain surgeries. His entire world changes overnight because at the beginning of the novel he can't read, and then he can. Like, literally everything changes about him, but his mentality stays the same, and he never questions how this new everything about him impacts his personality. He's still very much like, oh, I'm a red and I have the same personality and everything that I did before because, ooh, I'm a red. It's just weird. There's also high reds and low reds, and the low reds are revealed to be the mine workers, but the high reds live up on the surface of Mars, which has already been terraformed, unbeknownst to the lower reds. It's just weird. It doesn't make any sense. Like, how did the high reds feel about this? Why do we have high reds and not low? Like, it was weird, because you could have literally had a different color doing the menial labor on the surface of Mars. Like, I don't understand why we needed to have that distinction or that reveal. That was literally done nothing with it, because I would say 70% of this book takes place during the first year simulation, in which there's only 50 characters, and the point of the simulation arena game thing is to not die. It's, to, unite into one army. Okay. But literally every time we're reading about something, someone is dying, someone is trying to kill someone else, and it's like there's only 50 of you. Because they come in with 100, then 50 of them die. So it's just kind of like, why are we killing half of the elite gold people just to rig it for the jackal? Like, it was weird. The whole situation in the arena was the best part of the book because that actually got to be developed. It also apparently was 2 years long because at the beginning of this book he's 16 and at the end of it he's 18, so like 2 years have passed in this time. I mean, part of that was probably the surgeries that he was undergoing as well, because that's not really defined in terms of how long that took. And thankfully he did have to rest, so a year or so of that could have been from when he committed to suicide to when he actually took the test or whatever, so give or take. But it was just weird. I don't think that Darrow really grew as a character. I don't think any of the characters grew as a people. I don't think any of the characters actually had really great character moments. I actually liked Cassius. I think that was his name. I know there's a character in here called Cassius, but I don't know if he was the one that Darrow killed the brother of. Whoever's brother Darrow killed, I thought was a much more interesting character than Darrow himself. The parts in the arena were, like I said, fleshed out the best, but they were also like the only time that we got to spend with these characters. And so I hope that moving forward, if I can do this without making a giant mess, moving forward into Morningstar, it's a longer book, so I'm hoping we get more world in this one because he's no longer in this simulation. So I do plan on continuing on with the series. I do think it's interesting, but I also don't think that it was a particularly well written novel. I don't think it worked. I think that with a little fixes, and this is just like a personal thing, like it's just like for me personally, if I'm going to read science fiction, then I need to know the rules and I need to understand the society, and I kind of understand the society. I don't understand how this sort of structure developed. I understand that as a gold they would be stronger than the rest of the colors, but it was just weird. It was also weird to me that the pinks were like constantly slut shamed in the novel and everyone was okay with it because that's just what we do here. So yeah, like I said, not my favorite book. I do enjoy it. I do plan on continuing off the series. I probably won't wait to do each book in the specific month that the read-along has them listed for, but I do plan on at least attempting the second book to see how I feel about this series as a whole now that we're out of the simulation situation. If you've read Red Rising, let me know what you thought down in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys again sometime soon, hopefully. But until then, bye.